Let's talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. It's a massive bill that has recently come out of Congress, signed by the president. $367 billion that I believe should not be spent. Almost all of it is wasted. And it's being applauded by environmentalists. Oh, the government is finally doing something. This is, the first time the government has actually dedicated itself to addressing climate change, but it's addressing climate change in all the wrong ways, in ways that will only make climate change worse and will exhibit the worst aspects of industrial civilization. But let's look at what the New York Times has to say on August 12th, 2022. How the new climate bill would reduce emissions. It says, a major climate and energy package passed by Congress on Friday would put the United States much closer to its goal of cutting global warming pollution in half by 2030. Okay, carbon emissions have never gone down except in a recession. They keep going up, 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 because we have a system that demands more, including more energy. So to think that we're going to cut carbon warming pollution in half by 2030 is just pure fantasy. And it's based on strategies that are not going to reduce carbon emissions and are going to cause a lot of other problems to humans and to other living things. It says the legislation, which President Biden is expected to sign within days, provides hefty tax incentives. That's the thing, hefty tax incentives for low carbon technologies. And I would say supposedly low carbon technologies, because the supposedly low carbon technologies are not low carbon, nor are they anywhere close to producing the energy that our economy demands. We need to look at the demand for energy in our economy. But it says it could enable the country to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 40% below 2005 levels by the end of this decade. This is the stuff of pure fantasy. It just does not work when you have a growing economy where there are essentially no limits on what industry is allowed to do. Now, we can talk about how we can put limits on industry without it being a serious burden on anyone's freedom. We can talk about that, but that's another conversation. But it's eminently feasible, eminently doable to place limits on industry. For one thing, you don't subsidize them. These major corporations are endlessly subsidized. And that's another conversation. But take away subsidies for destructive activities, and then we will talk. If we took away subsidies for destructive activities, then our carbon footprint would immediately be reduced by 25%, 50% or more. And so the only question is, how can we do that without undue harm to people? But we're not having that conversation. But moving on. So this article refers to the next tab, it's called REPEAT. It's Rapid Energy Policy Evaluation and Analysis Toolkit. It's a joint project with Stanford and with some other and with some for-profit industries. Let's look up here at what the for-profit businesses are. So I said Stanford, I'm sorry, it's Princeton and Dartmouth College and Evolved Energy Research. That sounds like a for-profit business. Not that profit is bad, but when you're feeding at the government trough, profit can be really bad because you use your profits to pay the lawmakers to send more money your way. And that's what's going on here. This is not about the environment. It's not about the climate. It's about throwing money at rich people, which is the true purpose of government. And so Princeton, Dartmouth, evolved energy research, evolved. These people are evolved. They're evolved in their ability to take our money and put it in heavily polluting industries. And fourthly, carbon impact consulting. That's what we need, is consultants who are really lobbyists. But down here I'm going to show you something that I copied and pasted and put it in the next document. What you see there in blue is what I copied and pasted. It's a good summary of what we're talking about here. Next document is going up here. It's quoting from this analysis. So this is an analysis of what's going to happen to our carbon emissions and why, as a result of spending $367 billion, channeling it all to industry, not giving it to people, not using it to set aside natural areas, but just giving it to industry. And here's what the language says. The Inflation Reduction Act cuts U.S. emissions, according to scenarios, according to models, cuts U.S. emissions primarily by accelerating deployment of clean electricity and vehicles. So, clean electricity. What's clean electricity? Clean electricity is anything that is generated with solar, wind, or biomass. I want you to please, 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 pretty please, get and read Bright Green Lies by Derek Jensen, Lierre Keith, and Max Wilbert. It is the definitive work on its subject matter, and it will give you a thorough grounding in why clean electricity is not clean, why solar is not clean, why wind is not clean. And biomass is clear-cutting forests to turn them into wood pellets, to send them to Europe to burn. It's not clean, it's not green, it's not renewable. Even if you have a renewable resource, if you have over-exploitation of that renewable resource, then you've got trouble. Ecologically, you've got trouble. These technologies are deeply troubled. If we want to cut fossil fuels, let's cut fossil fuels. And we can do that without harm to people. But we have to stop believing the lies coming from government institutions and even from nonprofits and from the environmental movement itself. It says here, it talks about clean electricity and vehicles. Oh my gosh, clean vehicles. So we're talking about, instead of using cars with internal combustion engines, we're going to use cars with electric motors and a 1,000-pound electric battery made from lithium. So lithium is a non-renewable resource that is, you dig out of the ground. Lithium mines ruin the ground. They ruin the land, they ruin the water, just like a coal mine does. So clean vehicles are not the solution because they're not clean. If you look at how the sausage is made, these things are not clean. Continuing to read, the Act also incentivizes installation of efficiency upgrades. Efficiency, I love the word efficiency. We're going to do efficiently that which should not be done. We're going to take McDonald's and we're going to do McDonald's more efficiently. We're going to take slaughterhouses, and I'm not vegan, but these meat facilities are gross and disgusting and cruel and polluting, and we're going to do that more efficiently. We're going to take agrochemicals and we're going to do that more efficiently. We're going to take bomb making and make that more efficiently. We're going to more efficiently import computers where they're made elsewhere, and we're going to use those computers for surveillance. Just don't question what we're doing or why. Just know that we're doing it more efficiently. Of course, the word efficiency or efficiently should be a red flag. Next, it says we're going to have rebates, tax credits, and grants to spur electrification. So rebates, tax credits, and grants, we're talking about throwing money at industry. We're going to give industry a lot of money to do these things that are supposedly clean, green, renewable, and efficient. Tax rebates, tax credits, grants. Grants is where you're going to give a business money to do something. If that were a small business, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But we're talking about massive industries, and we're talking about throwing money and channeling money up to the people that have more than they will ever spend, but they just want more, and they're using the climate crisis to get more money. It talks here about spurring electrification. So we're going to take more things that used to be done with internal combustion engines, and we're going to electrify them. Electric vehicles are not clean. 60%, according to economist Richard Smith, 60% of the pollution associated with a vehicle occurs in the manufacturing process. In other words, 60% of the pollution associated with making a car occurs before it rolls off the assembly line in the mining, in the processing of the metals, in the manufacturing. Think of all the electronics that goes into a car, and lots and lots of pollution before it rolls off the assembly line, and then 10% of the pollution after in the disposal. So the disposal of an automobile causes 10% of the pollution associated with the automobile. So 60% plus 10% equals 70%. 70% of the pollution associated with an automobile does not occur during its useful life. So if you take all the pollution generated by a car during its useful life, and if it's zero, which it's not, but even if you said it's zero, then electric cars can only be 30% cleaner than an internal combustion car, and they're not even that, because they're so, the tires, when tire wear by definition is microplastics rubbing off on the road, and then they get washed off in the rain, they get into the water supply, they get into the oceans, microplastics everywhere. Microplastics are, among other things, endocrine disruptors. They're messing with our hormones, and we're surrounded by this crap, and we're just going to perpetuate more of that with electric cars. So that's about all in terms of my rant for this particular act and episode. What we're going to get into soon is solutions. So we're not talking about just problems. Okay, Hart, what's the solution? Well, we'll get into the solution, and the solution is to reduce most of what we see by 75 to 90%. And we can do that without posing a serious burden to the health, wealth, or convenience of the average person. The average person. Because all of this money is being dedicated to a few people who have control of everything, that can design our industries not for our convenience or our well-being. They design these industries for extraction. They're extracting profit from us. So let's talk about how to change that. Thank you.